A new hand touches the beacon. Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Nate here. And while Skyrim may be an amazing game, thrusting us into a vibrant world rich in opportunity for exploration and adventure, no game is perfect. And The Elder Scrolls V does come with its own fair share of regrettable moments, and missions that at times can drive us absolutely mad. So in today's video, we'll be exploring a few such examples, as we dive right into 5 quests and moments that everybody hated in The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Starting off, we have the quest, A Return to Your Roots. And oh my Talos is scratching my eyes out not a preferable alternative to this mission. For those of you who are unfamiliar or have never attempted this quest, first of all, my congratulations. But A Return to Your Roots is a side mission that the Dragonborn can trigger when in the submerged dwarven ruin of Blackreach. You see, when in this buried metropolis, the player can stumble upon a small Dwemer building called Sindarian's Laboratory. Enter, and you'll find an interesting scene. A skeleton, likely belonging to whomever Sindarian was, lies long dead on the cold stone floor, seemingly killed in a Fulmer attack. Throughout the structure are an assortment of plants, journals, notebooks, and test tubes, scattered everywhere. It looks like you're about to begin a fascinating new adventure. But looks, well, they can be a little deceiving sometimes. Indeed, this is the start of something, but fascinating is a far cry from how I would describe what's about to begin. In the skeleton's inventory will be Sindarian's old personal notebook, which he penned decades ago before he was killed. In it, he explains his fascination with nirnroot plants, and his particular research around a unique subspecies that he calls crimson nirnroots, which apparently possess some special properties other than their red pigmentation, and are exceedingly rare. The notebook reveals that Blackreach is one of the very few places in the world the plant grows somewhat consistently. The entire reason Sindarian was down here anyway was to gather and study the plant. After closing the journal, immediately the new quest, A Return to Your Roots, will begin, and you'll have an objective to, quote, gather 30 crimson nirnroots across Blackreach, and deliver them to an old associate of Sindarian's that he mentioned in the book. Now, here's the thing. Well, really, it's a few things. For one, the quest begins totally unprompted. Like, there's nothing in the book that suggests he wants you to carry on his research. Sindarian doesn't care, he's dead. But what's more, Sindarian must have a very different idea of what constitutes a consistent amount of something than I do. Because across the entire Blackreach landmass, which is huge, there's only about 44 of the plant. And again, Blackreach is big and we need 30 of them. Now, if you're really clever, you might be thinking, okay, sure, that sounds pretty monotonous, but what about the clairvoyance spell, Nate? The one that directs us to each— Nope. While using clairvoyance, the spell that highlights a path to your next objective, used to work, Bethesda removed its functionality in this individual quest in patch 1.9. They want you to suffer. Furthermore, the Green Thumb alchemical perk, which grants you 2 of any plant you pick up, doesn't function in relation to crimson nirnroots. Its functionality was removed in patch 1.7. Mind you, these are patches we're talking about. Players figured out workarounds to make this quest just slightly less irritating, and Bethesda went back into the game and made corrections to keep it difficult. They really went out of their way with this one. Personally, when I first began this mission ages ago, back in 2011, I remember spending somewhere around 45 minutes looking before I just gave up and moved on with the game. It wasn't until that I started taking Skyrim really seriously for this channel that I ever got around to organically playing through it. If you do power through everything though, and somehow find all 30 of the required plants, you can then take them back to Sindarian's old associate, Avrusa Sorethi at the Sorethi farm, who will state that it's been literal years since she's spoken to Sindarian, possibly even decades. Evidently, her relation to Sindarian isn't even professional. He just simply stayed at her place for a little while, paying rent, before he went out to explore Blackreach. Nonetheless, Avrusa will promise to continue his research, and thank you with a way too small sum of leveled gold. An intrusive introduction, a frustrating objective, and unsatisfying conclusion easily make a return to your roots one of the most ridiculous missions not only in Skyrim, but the entire franchise. It goes without saying that I think this is a stone best left unturned, unless you're going for that oh-so-elusive platinum trophy. Next on our list, picture this. You're descending deep into a cave, fighting your way through all sorts of unfriendly, furry creatures. You know there's a chest at the end of this cavern, and you're dead set on emerging from this journey much wealthier. As you're dicing your way through wolves and bears like they're onions, all of a sudden you notice a small message appear at the top right hand of your screen. You have contracted rock joint, it reads. Then another, after the bite of a saber cat clamps down on you. You have contracted Witbane. All of a sudden, you notice you're becoming considerably less effective in combat, and check your active magical effects menu to learn that you're now doing 25% less melee damage and regenerating magicka only half as fast. So now, while you will emerge from this dungeon a bit richer, you'll also be much weaker and a lot more annoyed, as these effects will linger until you find the right potion or a gracious Vigilant of Stendarr. Indeed, diseases in Skyrim represent one of the most annoying mechanics in the title, thrusting random and often quite significant debuffs upon the Dovahkiin that can only be rectified after a trip to the right healer, temple, or consuming the proper foods. Altogether, including Sanguine Vampirus and Lycanthropy, 9 diseases are present in the vanilla game, and the Dragonborn DLC introduced one more, Droops, which reduces melee damage and can be contracted via ash hoppers, bringing the total number of diseases up to 10. The concept of bringing viruses, plagues, just diseases in general into the world of the Elder Scrolls V and our gameplay in Skyrim seems pretty good on paper, but the implementation is just quite enraging at the end of the day. It's a tremendously under-complex system, if that makes any sense. Whether or not you contract one of these diseases is left totally up to RNG. If the wrong enemy spawns in with the wrong trait that allows them to infect you with something, you're done. Sure, there are certain races you can pick and certain perks you can acquire that will reduce the number of infected enemies that spawn in the game, but beyond that, there's little you can do. And it also seems as though we're the only people in the world capable of being set by these plagues. So, the advice I'm gonna leave you with here is just make sure you carry some potions and hawk feathers in your inventories all the time. Unfortunately, you'll never know when they're needed. Coming in at number 3, allow me to paint yet another picture for you. You've just slain dozens of bandits in any given encampment, and are now looting the various chests and barrels across the area. You've got a pretty good carry weight, so you're just taking everything from every container, when out of nowhere, you hear those words. Those bloody words.
A new hand touches the beacon. Can you not hear me? Are your ears full of hate?
A new hand touches the beacon, followed by a monologue that's way louder and longer than it has any right to be, by the Daedric god Meridia. Why are your ears suddenly being assaulted by this lord who's decided randomly yelling at people is an acceptable means of introducing oneself? Well, this occurs whenever you've picked up a unique quest item called Meridia's Beacon. The thing about this object is that it will just randomly spawn in any given container after you've reached level 12. And once you've picked it up, intentional or not, Meridia will begin shouting into your ears about some necromancer who's been off desecrating her temple that she needs a champion to kill or something. Beginning the quest, The Break of Dawn. This quest itself is actually pretty average at worst. I mean, it's pretty much a normal dungeon run through a temple, and there's some interesting lore behind the evil mage Meridia once slain, so it's fine. But rudely being solicited by a god when you're just about enjoying your day, gathering gear from chests, is definitely not. For our 4th spot, I suspect this one is going to strike a nerve with most. Our 4th spot is the absurd quest Paarthurnax, given to us by the Blades at the conclusion of Skyrim's main quest line. So, following your victory over Alduin and savior of man and elvenkind alike, most of the characters who joined you throughout this epic journey will express gratitude in your actions, announce noble ambitions, and offer valuable insight. Paarthurnax the dragon commends your efforts and declares his intention to lead what's left of Dovahkind to a brighter, more peaceful and humane future. The Greybeards also congratulate you on your success, though warn that Alduin may not be gone for good. Various Jarls and other minor characters bombard the Dragonborn with thanks. But then there's the Blades. The Blades, a until now dead faction of elite warriors that you are literally responsible for resurrecting, who ultimately did practically nothing to defeat the World Eater. Seriously, despite their prominence in the main questline, Delphine and Esbern's actions really just serve as an overglorified history lesson for context, while the Greybeards, Paarthurnax, and Odahviing really did all of the heavy lifting. Well, I digress. The Blades do briefly say good job, thanks for killing Alduin and everything, but then go on to say that, no, you're still not done yet. Sure, you stopped or delayed the prophecy, rebuilt their organization from the ground up, and did it mostly without their help, but after all that, the Blades will then demand that you kill Paarthurnax. You know, the dude who's actually been helping you all this time. Their argument is that dragons are naturally evil or something, and that until they've been driven to extinction, they'll pose a threat to the world. Oh yeah, and here's the kicker. Until you do kill Paarthurnax, they won't even let you back into their headquarters Skyhaven Temple, and give you membership into the faction. They basically force an ultimatum upon the player. They ban you from joining the club you started unless you kill an ally who's been nothing but loyal to the Dovahkiin. Of course, killing Paarthurnax will also result in the Greybeards banning you from High Hrothgar, as Paarthurnax was their de facto leader, and they don't appreciate having him murdered to death. Membership in the Blades isn't something to write home about either. All it mainly does is offer a player home and a recurring Radiant quest to hunt dragons, some of whom, presumably like Paarthurnax, may not even be evil anymore. Additionally, this argument that all dragons are evil neglects to realize that Tiber Septim, one of the Blades' principal idols, had a dragon of his own too. So, for most players, myself included, I think the ultimatum given by Delphine and the Blades just comes across as insulting, dumb, and irritating. Some of you may remember a while back that I posted a poll using YouTube's community tab on this very question, whether you guys preferred to side with the Blades or Paarthurnax, and the numbers were just overwhelmingly in favor of the dragon. I think it was something like 90% wanted to save him. So, the community consensus seems pretty clear on this one. It's just too bad there isn't a third choice, where we could wipe the Blades out, and then jump on board with whatever it is Party Snacks is planning to do. And finally, last on our list, are the 20 pages of St. Chibs' Opus that we have to find. So, similar to Meridia's Beacon, the context and story behind what's going on here is, in fact, just fine. Really, it's one of my favorites in the game, but my Talos is the actual task itself, not one of the most monotonous. So, during the events of the Dawnguard DLC, we'll have to travel to a plane of oblivion known as the Soul Cairn. A terrifying realm where souls of those who have been soul-trapped are condemned to spend all of eternity. While we're here, we'll cross paths with a variety of spirits, and among them will be that of a dark elf named Chib. When approached, Chib will explain that back in life, he was a hero to the people of Morrowind, having driven a pesky winged creature known as Cliff Racers to the brink of extinction, and battled against a number of powerful foes to protect the realm. He claims that he's regarded as a saint by most of his fellow Dunmer. Sadly, some time ago during the Oblivion Crisis, around 2 centuries prior to the events of Skyrim, while living in Cyrodiil, working on his autobiography, Chib was soul-trapped by a Daedra, and now, here he is. After explaining all of this to the player, Chib will then ask for a favor. You see, as he was soul-trapped and just thrust down into this world, a bunch of pages from that memoir he was working on were scattered across the region. He needs your help in finding them. This begins the side quest, The Impatience of a Saint, which sends us across the Soul Cairn to locate the 10 missing pages of Chibs' Opus. Once we've collected them, we can bring them back to him, in exchange for his thanks and a new locket to complete the quest. The difficulty here, of course, is that the 10 pages are scattered all across the cairn, and much like Blackreach, the Soul Cairn is big. Like, really, really big. So finding all of these pages is going to prove a tremendous hassle without the assistance of, well, the internet. Seriously. Completing this quest without referring to outside guides really is an accomplishment. I mean, you've got pages scattered underneath random tables, some pages inside of random buildings, others on the roofs of structures. It is utterly ridiculous. And if you do somehow complete all of this, all you get in exchange is a pat on the back and a locket? Come on! Now, of course, the narrative behind the story, as I've already alluded to, is pretty cool and makes it relatively forgivable. Chib, in fact, was a character we can meet in the Elder Scrolls III Morrowind. Believe it or not, he was actually the first character we ever met, a fellow prisoner on one of our ships on its way to Vardenfell. Currently being regarded as a heroic saint now, though, it seems like he turned that life of crime around for the better. So, good on him for that. But bad on him for making us scrounge about this horrifying realm in the search of his litter. That gets a big thumbs down. And with that, we are going to wrap up my top 5 annoying quests and moments in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Which of these resonated with you the most, and what frustrating moments in the game would you like to share? Leave a comment down below, or join the conversation over on Discord. As always, like ratings are very much appreciated. Again, thanks for popping in, and I hope to catch you all in my next video. Peace out, everyone.